Welcome back, all. So, today this lecture is actually optional. This has nothing to do with ethical hacking. This is just me giving you the basic orientation day in regard to the Fedora KD desktop. So, if you don't feel like customizing your desktop or don't care about that or whatever, you wish to find that out on your own, feel free to skip it. As I said, it's optional and it has little to no impact on the rest of the course. In fact, I don't think it has any impact. This is just me showing you how to customize your desktop and where what is in terms of GUI. We'll have a separate tutorial where I'll explain the terminal, how to actually work with it, commands, etc. That one is actually mandatory. This one is optional. So you will notice that I don't have a bar here, and that's because it's hidden. So let me just revert it back, and here you can actually adjust the screen edge, so you can move it left, right. This should be right. No, this is definitely right, and this should be left. Forgive me if I'm mistaken there. I kind of tend to confuse left, right, months, days, dates, etc. So if you can just move it around any way you like. So yours would be down here. You can also adjust the height of the panel, so you can reduce it in size up and down, do whatever suits you the best. I like to have my default panel a little bit larger, and then the other panels that I add, they tend to be a little bit smaller. Completely irrelevant, just up to you the way you prefer it. Now, if you go to more settings, you can set this to always visible or to auto hide. Windows can go over, can go below, up to you completely. The alignment, I tend to set mine on auto hide, and I like to keep it at the top. So let me just go ahead and move the screen edge up here. It's also possible to add any number of additional panels. So you can either add a default panel, which will be like this one, or you can add an empty panel, and then that empty panel can be configured. You just you just go down to the menu thing, and then you increase the width, and you can change the screen edge. You can again set it on auto hide, and you can also resize it. Basically, you have these arrows up and down where you can actually adjust the size and the position. I usually like to have a left side panel here that's hidden on default. Auto hide, okay, so I have multiple screens, so it doesn't go, I can't actually toggle the auto hide like this. But what I like to do then is click on my start menu button, whatever you wish to call it, and then just drag icons down below for all the things that I am going to need. So you have shortcuts like these. But anyway, I am not interested in that at the moment. I just want to show you how so you can add as many shortcuts as you like here and have them there ready and waiting. So you just click on remove panel to delete it, and it's gone. With this arrow, you can see notifications, battery for laptops, you can device notifier for when you actually plug the devices in, and you have this network thing here where you click, it's your network manager, so you can see your networks here. I don't have wireless set up just yet, but I will. And later on, you will actually be able to see the entire spectrum of wireless access points as well. This desktop PC is connected via a cable, so via Ethernet cable, but later on I will hook up the wireless and you will see a whole spectrum of access points as well. Anyway, moving on, if you go into system settings, I'll turn to my other screen. Here you will find pretty much anything that's configurable in regard to your system. So you have display and monitor. You can configure monitors here. There are 4 of them here. I'm recording this one, which is selected here. you need to go, if you want to configure your workspace, the colors, I usually tend to do that. You can select how you wish your desktop to look and feel like, but desktop theme is actually more important to me, where you actually select whether you want the darker theme or a lighter theme, etc. You can see if I select a lighter, you can select a lighter one, or you can select a darker one. I prefer the darker one. I don't know, it's better for my eyes, in my opinion. As you can see, it changes up here, so it's a lot darker, it's black, with an opacity level set as well. You can adjust your cursor to whatever you want it to be. The splash screen is basically at login time, how would you like it to be? Anyway, if you go back, you can also adjust the system fonts if you like, the size of them, just configure them to anything you want. I mean, you have the general one, the width, the small, the toolbar, the menu, the window title. So adjust accordingly to whatever you need. I usually don't mess around with these things at all, as that is not really that important to me. But select whatever suits you. Now, application style, anything important there? Yeah, sure, you can adjust the windows a little bit, how you would like them to be. You can find certain things online, plugins, but that's really not important. I just want to show you that it does exist and that it is indeed there. So by default is going to be like this with these arrows in the corner. If you don't like it, you can change it to this so it feels more like something that you are used to, with an X and with a square and an underline. No, I don't wish to save anything. Now, if you go into the desktop behavior, you can add a ton load of effects here. As you can see, when I move this window, it wobbles. Let me just make it smaller so you can see it's wobbling. And if I have another window here, if I do this, they go over one another in this manner. So you can configure this as well. But when I minimize them, you see they get sucked in and sucked out, so to say. All of this you can basically configure in this place. So you can see Windows glide, smoothly fade in desktop when logging. I don't know what else. I just go through them and see what you like. It's really no importance. It has no importance in a technical way. This is just purely for your amusement, I guess. Desktop cube and desktop grid are some of the things that you will want. I mean, they look kind of cool, and I've shown you this before when it goes back and when you can roll it round and round in circles and switch between desktops. So you can just go ahead and click here, set the transparency level. The background color is actually irrelevant for me because I've set the wallpaper. And down here you can configure the keys that actually toggle the rolling of the cube, the switching of the desktops, and you can set the opacity level. I prefer my cube to be far so that I can see everything there. Anyway, just close this, and then you're going to need to go into virtual desktops and actually set them to be more than one for this cube to be functional. So it doesn't need to be a cube. It can have as many sides as you like. And even, I think you can set like 100 desktops or something like that, and then you can set it to spin round and round in circles. But as I said, that's purely up to you. Do whatever you wish to do there. Now, this is actually a little bit more important. The lock screen is Control-Alt-L. That will lock your desktop. Always lock your desktop. Have it as a habit. Just press Control-Alt-L and it locks. And lock screen automatically after 5 minutes of inactivity. So you can change these two, but make sure that you have a shortcut for locking your screen so that it's always locked. You can set what you would like Windows edges to do. As you can, mine, for example, by default, it's going to do this if you hit the screen edge. I can't hit it on this screen, but if you can see my mouse cursor, if I hit the upper left corner twice, but on my other screen, yep, this is going to happen. But you can basically configure what you want to occur. You see, when you select it, and then you just select what you would like to happen when you hit the screen edge. And when you hit the screen edge with your mouse cursor, that is what is going to happen. Okay, so in addition to this, you can have the account details, the user manager, so you can add or remove edit systems users. But we will be doing this via the terminal anyway, which is like the real way of doing it. So it's not really important here, but I just wanted to show it to you anyway. There's also no, sorry, not applications, but there's also something that you should be aware of. By default, on Fedora with the KDE desktop, a single click will actually open folders. If you go into mouse and you can see single click open file and folders, double click open file and folders. I always change it to double click, just more convenient for me. If you want, you can change it to single click, up to you completely. No touchpad found. If you're on a laptop, you will be on a touchpad, so you can configure what one finger does, what two fingers do, what three fingers do, etc. So if I go back, is there anything else here? I can go into window management, but not really, not important. Let me just go ahead and close this. The next thing that you need to be aware of is that this is your file manager. So as soon as you open up your start here, you can go into the file manager, and that's on my other screen. So here you will see you have the overview of the entirety of your file system. So on Linux, the file system is considerably different from that one on Windows. For example, I have my devices here, which are the partitions of the hard drives and the drives themselves. But up here, I have places and home, and then if I go into root, root is the beginning of the file system, and home, every user has a home folder. Well, not all users have home folders. The real users have home folders. The system users do not have home folders, so to say, generally. Anyway, from here you can navigate to wherever you like. It's not like in Windows where you have a C partition and where you have all your system files on the C partition, and you have other partitions where you have other things. Here you don't have that. Here you can have as many partitions as you like, but they all have mount points. So if you begin from the root of the file system, everything is naturally down below. So you can access every single place from the root of the file system. It goes on downward. So from the top of the root system, from the slash, it goes downward, and you can access everything. Unlike in Windows, where you have the C partition, then if you wish to access anything that is in a different partition, you have to actually go out of the C partition and go into a different partition. Here, it doesn't matter how many partitions you have; they are all accessible from root. You go on downwards and you access everything. Also, folders can be divided amongst multiple partitions. So for example, downloads can be split onto 10 partitions or so, but it doesn't matter. Once you click on downloads, it opens up the contents of the downloads folder. Anyway, down below you have your physical devices. You can access them as well if they are not mounted. If you just wish to mount them from here, you will require admin privileges in order to be able to do that. That's about it as far as the file system is concerned, really. There are a lot more things that I will say at a later point in time, but I figured I would just give you the basics now, and later on we would actually move into more. As I do things, I will explain them. So you get desktop settings here, where you can change your wallpaper. You have mouse but wallpaper is the important one. You have the other things down below. You basically just download things and from the net, the wallpapers if you want, and then place them here if you like. Anyway, one of the most important things that we'll be using is the terminal, and that will be the subject of the next lecture. This one is optional. As I said, it literally has nothing to do with the course, just me showing you a basic orientational guidelines in regard to Linux, in regard to the desktop environment. So in the next tutorial, we'll jump into the terminal, and there I will show you the basic commands of the Linux terminal. Keep in mind that these will be the basic commands. As we move on with the course, each new command shall be explained in detail.